We live in a land where nothing changes without persistent pressure and organized strength. If we think that this society is going to change because it's the right thing to do, we're on the wrong side of the question. Jim Crow signs did not come down in the South because all of a sudden society felt like, or the South felt like they were wrong to be up there. It took persistent, organized effort. Some people died. Some people were beaten. Some people lost their jobs before the Jim Crow signs came down. They marched together and walked together 381 days in Montgomery, Alabama, and said, we will not get back on the bus until Jim Crow comes off the bus. And there was a beautiful little church lady by the name of Mother Pollard who was walking one day to work. And there were some people who passed by in a car. And they said, aren't you tired of walking? Wouldn't you like a ride? She said, my feet is tired, but my soul is rested. We in the church must get to the place where we say, we're tired of injustice. We're tired of ignorance. We're tired of meanness. We're tired of violence. And I'm going to take my religion and put it into action. Did not our founder say, upon this rock I'll build my church, and the very gates of hell will not prevail against it? Where is the church that is dynamic and on fire? You know, when Christians first started hiding in caves and secret places in Rome, they would go into those places and pull them out and take them to the lions' dens and put them in the arena and allow lions and other animals to rip them to pieces for their faith. And out of that furnace of affliction, we find the Apostle Paul saying, I am convinced that neither life nor death, nor angels, nor principalities, nor forces to come, nor anything shall separate me from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus. Where is the dynamite of the early church? Where is the courage of the early church? Where is it we will not take it of the early church? Where is it? My mother used to say this, Charles Jr., she said, I don't know what the explanation is, but something in the milk ain't clean. We've got to recognize that in our society, something in the milk ain't clean. And it will take our determination. It will take our activism. It will take our coming out of our comfort zone to make the milk clean in society. And every now and then, somebody might get beaten. Somebody might get scarred up a bit. But a great man once said, it's better to go through life with a scarred up body than with a scarred up soul. We are in the church worshiping with scarred up souls. And God has called us to be more dynamic, to be more courageous, to be more willing to suffer. I remember a song we used to sing, no cross, no crown. And some of us are so interested, so comfortable in our religion that we've forgotten that real religion will get you criticized. Real religion will get you ostracized. Real religion will get you thrown in jail sometime. Real religion will pull us to a new level, and the city will begin to see what it means when the church is on fire. I commend Pastor Cord for what he's doing, because he's taking his religion and he turned it into p.m.j.a. to say, we are not going to take it any longer. Frederick Douglass said it, and it's still true. Power concedes nothing without a demand. We look and see police brutality. We looked at Ferguson and saw the police being militarized. They were militarized to such an extent that even the Republican candidate, Rand Paul, had to speak out against it. You know something is really wrong when conservatives on the right side begin to speak out against it. But we said after 9/11, as tragic as it was, and we looked at it a few days ago again, I remember the country being in this very tragic sense of sadness and agony around 9/11, and we ought to have been, because it was a tragic event. But I remember Bishop Jakes saying to the news media, 9/11 ain't nothing new in our community. We're used to being treated like convicts and outsiders in society. We've had to deal with terrorists for centuries in this country. We know what lynch mobs are. We know what it means to have hooded people come into our neighborhoods. So 9/11 wasn't new to us. It was new to certain segments of society. Let me say a few more things as I bring this to a close. Dr. King said that true peace is not just the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. And we've got to come to see that peace is not just order. Peace means things are being done the way they ought to be done. I watched the other day a group of people who were supporting the officer in Ferguson. There was a big sign that this woman was holding, and she said, "It's about the rule of law." And I said to myself, Hitler had laws in Nazi Germany. Everything he did in Nazi Germany was legal. It isn't about the rule of law. It's about the rule of justice. And we must have that in our hearts to say, we're not going to just go along to get along. And too often we just go along to get along because we don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. We don't want to be pushed out of our comfort zone. We don't want to make anybody mad. But Jesus made all of hell mad one day. And we are called to move this society to a new level. We are called to be church folk, not just in our singing and dancing, but out in society where men and women can see the light that we have. You used to sing, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. All in the courtroom, I'm going to let it shine. All in the street, I'm going to let it shine." And we've got to learn as a community not just to react to things. We're very reactionary, you know. One of our children get mistreated, then all of us gather down at the school board building. We've got to learn, like p.m.j.a., to be proactive in our communities. We've got to be there before trouble starts to let them know if some trouble starts, we are watching you. We got to join these great organizations. p.m.j.a. needs help. We don't need to just come to meetings and clap. This woman needs help in West Palm Beach. Attorneys like him need support. They need help. We need to write letters. We need to send money. We need to get on the telephone. Our young people know how to use Twitter, know how to use Facebook. Use it for something other than talking to your girlfriend and your boyfriend. Get on Twitter, get on Facebook, and say, we need some justice in this society. We need our policemen to behave better in this society. Put his case out there. Let the world know that there's a young man who's doing a good deed, who's sitting in prison, who ought not to be there. He's being punished for a crime he didn't commit. Put that on Twitter. Put that on Facebook. And help this attorney with this case. It is a shame beyond any level of comprehension that you would keep a young man in prison who the jury said was innocent. And we're supposed to have the best legal system in the world. So we must come together and organize ourselves. Join the ACLU. I know a lot of us always look to these organizations for help. Well, you know, strength comes in numbers. And I'm going to close this. But I remember when I was with Reverend Jackson, one of our actions a few years ago, people came to him and he said, the people said to me, where were you when we needed you? Where were you when we were in trouble? And he said, I had to tell them, there's only so much I can do. So you need to organize yourselves, because Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson can't be the fireman running around with fire trucks putting out every fire. We need to organize ourselves in our local communities and take this talent and take this power that we have to bring pressure to bear on situations in our own communities. And stop looking for Santa Claus to come with his reindeer and his present to put under our Christmas tree. We must be willing to suffer. I know a lot of us are caught up with the prosperity gospel. We want a house and we want a car, want nice things, and all that's fine and good. But you know, in our faith, there is the fellowship of his resurrection and also the fellowship of his suffering. As believers, we not only want to prosper, but we must be willing to suffer. Suffering to make God's message resonate in the hearts of men and women. Suffering to say to our children, Mama and Daddy are going to try to secure a better future for you. And if I have to get knocked upside the head or mistreated, I have to get ostracized or criticized, I'm willing to pay the price to make a better society, to make a better community, to make your future better. They said to Dr. King in Mississippi, they went down there after James Meredith was shot. They said, Dr. King, why are you here? You know you're nothing but a troublemaker. He said, in order to transform Mississippi, if necessary, you can lock Ralph up, you can lock Andrew up, you can lock me up. And when you lock us up, then you'll have to lock James up. And you'll have to lock the rest of them up. And when you lock that 50 up, you'll have to lock 100 more of us up. And when you lock that 100 up, you'll have to lock 1,000 of us up. He said, if necessary to bring justice to this state, we will fill all the jails in Mississippi. And we've got to have that kind of power, that kind of conviction, that if it means that we have to lose something, we're willing to lose something in order to gain something greater. We are too comfortable. And we've got to get out of these comfort zones because this system is snatching our children right out of our bosoms. And we are busy going to church. And we haven't learned yet how to be the church. So I commend you, Apostle, for what you're doing. And I challenge each of us today to join in and make our stand and be willing to suffer, and be willing to go through some changes, because only by doing that will we bring the change that is needed to this society.
I know you feel ready to fight now and fight for justice and do the right thing. Thank you for those inspiring words. Now, we have on our program, and what we're going to do at this time, we have my story, your story, our story. They're actually working on getting our computer together. But what we've, at this part, what we're doing, I'm going to give my story, and we'll have everybody to give their story, and then we're going to deal with our action, what our next plan is, and what we're going to do. So while they're working on the computer, I have a good friend of mine. You wouldn't believe this. Come on. You wouldn't believe what happened. Could you believe somebody could take your house? And forbid you to go in. One that legally belongs to you, get a loan in your name without permission, admit they did it, and yet you lose your house and nothing happens to them because they're connected. I just want him to give his story, he'll give you your name, all his information, and this is a very, very powerful story that if you just heard somebody off the streets talking to you about it, you wouldn't believe it. But it happened here.
Thanks, brother. That's God. Listen, please laugh at me if you like, because I may hit you with some things that may not sound, familiar. But anyway, I love the two gentlemen that have came before me. I, it was very inspiring. But I do have a lot of questions. One thing I've learned, I'm not a lawyer, but one thing I've learned, it's always good to ask questions. Does that make sense? That makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, a former military officer, former school teacher, coach, vice principal in school. One day, I dreamed about having my own private school. If I can't not guarantee you that your child will be a genius, you'll never have to pay. I don't want you to pay me a dime. Because you know what? I want to teach you guys, especially you young people, hear what I'm saying, how to be an integrated thinker, how to be a conceptual thinker, how to think in pictures. Okay? Listen, young people, you need to learn how to build knowledge and obtain knowledge. You got so much potential up here. My God, I was an athlete. I hate to, I'm embarrassed to say it. I hate to say it, but why did I spend all that time developing myself physically and not this? Now, let me tell you about me. Yeah, all those things and having they took my property because they thought that I was blind. I could not see. Okay? And I had to sit and I took it all. I own my property. I got a warranty deed in my folder right here now. Nobody. Oh, I'm not done. Yeah. Nobody can challenge that today. I've been to court. Somebody made a fraudulent quick claim deed to my property. Outside the law, felony crimes, false notarization, false witnesses, saying that I sold them my property, ladies and gentlemen. I go to court. The judge void the deed. He void the deed ab initio from the beginning. Because the lady who made the fraudulent deed confessed a total of 6 different times under oath. Now you tell me, why would a sheriff send a SWAT team out and move me off my property and give it to the person who made this fraudulent deed to my property? Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you young people, you need to hear this. You got to be able to see through the illusions. You got to know how to see through the essence of things. I'm not a lawyer, but I knew I won that case from day one. But we as a people, can't see it. They want to hook you up with all, I went to trial with all this stuff and still won. I want to quiet the title action. This lawyer know what a quiet the title action. That means that nobody can ever, make a claim on my property. But they seen a sheriff SWAT team out because you know what? They can dupe you. They can create all these illusions. They can turn me into the villain. Okay? I even been to jail. I went to jail for 9 days. That one thing that I learned when I was in the military. Major Brown taught me a lot of these things that I'm telling you now. I'm going to try to protect your constitutional rights. I learned a little something about the Constitution. Now we're talking about 2 different worlds in here. You guys don't even know it. See, they don't want you to know these kinds of things. We're talking about the Constitution. If you got a Constitution, this lawyer, excuse me, lawyers don't know everything. I'm a little bit older. I've been in the world a little bit longer. But hey, I'm not a lawyer. It's not unlawful to practice law because I know my constitutional rights. He can get this man out of jail. But the main reason why he can't get him out of jail because you guys don't really know it. I know it. If this young man hadn't given his consent, he don't need to be there. If he knew his the only way that they can put you and I in jail is what? We have to what? Consent to it. Okay? They don't want you to know these things, though. Okay, I got a little law right there in my right there that I brought to you, and I'm just throwing a whole lot of things here at you here that you people don't even know you got money. They ain't gonna tell you these things. How long do I have? Okay. all I want to say, because I want to teach you these things. But let me tell you about. Let me make sure that I tell you about the case. And our vice principal, they took my vice principal's job because I was an integrated thinker. This lawyer knows due process. Hey, today they terminated me during the terms of my contract. Never gave me a hearing, notice, or charge. I had a hearing 33 months after they terminated me. The administrative law judge said they terminated me based on a non-existent factual allegation. The Education Practice Commission ruled in my favor. The EEOC ruled in my favor. The employment security people ruled in my favor. What did I get? Not a dime. You know why? Because our federal court won't allow me to present undisputable cases. I got a petition right here that I wrote myself that's been in front of the United States Supreme Court for 2 years. Not just only on my property, but on my job. No response. Nobody. It ain't me. It's all they're saying. I just put the puzzle together. I own Polk County. I don't want to get too excited, but we own Polk County. We could replace the government tomorrow, because I'm telling you, if you want to stand up, Mr. Holmes, if you want to stand up, then you need to let me teach you what I'm talking about here today. I'm not mad at anybody. I want you to develop your mind. I want our kids to become creative. Because if you're going to be happy, you're going to be rich, you're going to be successful, you're going to be romantic, you got to learn to be creative. You got to create something. That's what happiness is all about. Okay, don't you know you got a conscience? You can create. Look at what the computer is doing. That's something the government, and you're going to have to call me. That's something the government wasn't able to stop. That's the forerunner, ladies and gentlemen. The government is a host. I need to teach you guys this. Okay? You've been duped. Okay? The lawyer gave you the correct protocol. Don't you ever talk to the policeman, because they got you if you do. Come on. You guys don't know nothing about you don't know anything about no admiralty and maritime law. You don't know nothing about the United States in America being a corporation. You don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about no straw man. This lawyer do. Okay? Now I'm excited, but I'm gonna tell you that God is good, and I just pray that some of you young people in here, something rang into your mind and start investigating this little talk that I'm having to you, because I can teach you some secrets that have been hidden from you for thousands and thousands of years that you're not ever supposed to know. But anyway, just to close out, Pastor Coward, they took my property, they took my land. All you have to do is just say, let's galvanize, let's go out. Can't nobody contest it. They got my friend locked up in jail now. They put Mary Calloway in jail. Never had jurisdiction. Never had any probable cause. If you ain't got probable cause, then the officer is wrong. Am I making sense? Okay, Pastor God, that's about enough, because I know I'm rattling off a whole lot of stuff here, but I don't want to go too.
That's all right. That's all right. And 5 minutes is a short time to get everything in. But now, one of my friends made it, and he's come here. I want you to hear his story. And he owns a funeral home, Holmes Funeral Home. And I want you to hear this unbelievable story. What happened to? Well, it's probably believable to us. Come forth. This is Mr. Claude Holmes. All right.
Thank you, preacher. Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for running late, but I was doing what I normally do, and that's bury the dead, and I had to take care of that first. So I'm just thankful to be here. But I had a very interesting story. Kind of unbelievable. We had a situation where a young man went fishing with his uncle, and in the middle of June, back in 2009, y'all can imagine how hot it was. And went fishing Friday afternoon, and they found him Sunday in the water. So, I mean, if you just got good common sense, you know that things wasn't right with him when they come in. We picked him up Tuesday afternoon, and as they were pulling in with him, I could smell it. So what we did, they had done an autopsy on him. We took the viscera, took it to the cemetery, and disposed of it, which was the proper thing to do. They had some weekend jail people that were out working, and the weekend jail people went out, and according to the depositions, they disinterred it, which meant that they dug it back up out the ground in the cemetery. Where do you dispose human remains? Cemetery, okay? The detective came to me and I explained it to him just like it happened. I got ready to walk off, and they called me back to the car, and she was on the phone with the state attorney saying there's got to be something we can charge him with. So now, I'm beginning to think, what's going on now? They called me back and they told me that they would charge me with illegal dumping. That was the initial charge, illegal dumping. Had a little misdemeanor probation. The probation officer told him to terminate it because I had complied. And the detective told him, said, no, we can't terminate it because if we terminate it, that means he'll beat the case. We need to keep him in and make him sweat. Sat in jail for 6 months on a littering charge. And what was the most miraculous it was devastating to me. According to the Florida statute says that in order for it to be dumping, they charged me with felony dumping. And it says in order for it to be a felony, it has to be in excess of 500 pounds, and the total weight was 33 pounds. Y'all done heard the story. They had me on national news. They saw it over in Iraq, and they brought the cameras and had the big trucks and towels around the funeral home, and Rick Elmhurst came out and went out in front of the sign, and he mentioned that their motto is setting the standards for others to follow. Are these the standards that you want to follow? Well, to make a long story short, and a short story better, everything that they attempted to do to destroy my name, God elevated it up. The whole while I sat in jail, my son was in Texas, and he got more frequent flyer miles coming back and forth from Texas than he would have just if I had been home. And even to this day, it's still going on. All right? I've been licensed since I was 18 and 1 month. 18 and 1 month to do what I do. Never been before the board for any disciplinary problems in my life. I go before the board and they revoke my license. How does that happen? Isn't it a certain procedure that you have to go through? Never been before the board for no disciplinary problems at all. None. And I go one time and they put a motion on the floor to revoke my license. And what was so ironic about it, within this same hearing, they're saying that I got a felony conviction now. My attorney allowed me to plea out to a charge where the element didn't meet the charge. There's a lot of things you learn when you get yourself in some trouble. When the element didn't meet the charge, even if he allowed me to plea out, he should have withdrawn my plea because he wasn't working into my best interest. I'm learning that now, and they haven't heard the end of it yet. I was born and raised in the funeral business, and what they're telling me now, I'm almost close to the end of my life, and they're telling me to start over doing something different. Doesn't work that way. If we sit back and just let them do us, this system here in Polk County, the way that they desire to do us, our kids are really headed to trouble. Our kids are headed to some trouble. Because now they took me, and I didn't even tell you this part. The detective that arrested me was a homicide detective. Littering was an environmental issue. And in her deposition, she admitted that she never spoke with anyone in the environmental department at the sheriff department. There was a tape that was given to us because they knew what was going on. And she had a tape going, and somebody in the family had a tape going because she went to the family to try to get them to file a lawsuit against us. And they brought the tape to the funeral home, and it sat on my wife's desk about 4 months. And my son came in from Texas one day and asked her had she listened to it. And in the tape, when my wife finally listened to it, the statement was made by one of the family members. He explained to us everything that needed to be done. We were content with everything that needs to be done. So I mean, why are you making such a big issue out of it? This was asked to the attorney, to the detective. And detective says, in the tape, well, I'm very disappointed because he violated no law. He committed no crime. Can I say it just like she said it, brother? But he pissed me off during his interview, and I'll make him pay for that. You've heard the tape, haven't you? Just like that. He violated no law. He committed no crime. But he pissed me off during his interview, and I'll make him pay for that. Now, they've taken my whole life, set me in jail for 6 months because I made her mad. I was doing my job. I was simply doing my job. Permanently scarred. That wasn't the intent. The intent was to just destroy the business. But when God is in control, ain't none of that gonna have no effect on you. It affects you mentally. But where they thought that they were hurting me, it costed me quite a bit of money. And it's still costing. But guess what? All of the money belongs to God. And he continues to supply my need. And I'm thankful for that. But if we continue to sweep it up under the rugs and let it go, we're looking for bigger problems ahead. Much bigger problems ahead. Long story. I don't want to take all of y'all's time with my issue, but I thank Pastor Coward for allowing me to come and just share this. Because when they painted that picture of me, they had everybody thinking I was a whole nother shade of blue. Then people saw me for themselves. People saw me for themselves. And they had compassion upon me. And they patronized us. And they are constantly doing so. Right now, we got to be one of the leading minority funeral homes in Polk County. Even with the negative publicity, we're thankful. Y'all got what I'm saying? And I'm saying that, and I'm saying it hurting on the inside, but you'll never know because I'm going to keep my head up high. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if we keep telling this story, somebody's going to get this story, and they're going to take me somewhere, and I'm going to get paid for telling my story, and then all eyes are going to come right back on Polk County. You watch what I tell you. You don't just do people any kind of way because they make you mad. You've destroyed my whole livelihood, so you think, because I made you mad. Well, how do you think I felt when you come and arrested me for nothing? And then to know that it was a felony charge. And in order for, even worse than that, the Florida statute states that it does not apply to anyone who was licensed under 497. And guess what? I was licensed under 497. That's big there. When I was sitting in jail and everybody was asking me what I was in jail for, and I was telling them a story, and I let them look at that, and they said, man, you got to be kidding. This is what you here for? And every time I would go to court, they would tell me, say, you going home today because they ain't got nothing. I come back from court and I say, no, they ain't let me go yet. I'm a recovering addict, and I sat in jail for 6 months and looked like I did more drugs in jail than I did the whole while I was on the streets. I tell it everywhere I go. I tell it everywhere I go. If I can't talk about my past, there's definitely some cloudy days in my future. So if you know where I've been and you can see me stand tall the way that I am, there must be something wrong with you not seeing that I'm pushing on. Because I'm trying my best to go on. And I'm going to do that. And before it's all said and done, I'm going to get some assistance Because like I stated, my attorney should not have allowed me to plea to a felony charge when the element didn't meet the charge. And they should have dismissed it. He put in several motions to the court for them to dismiss, and they never would. And they told me that I was a flight risk. The attorney said, he has $1 million business right here in Haines City. Why you want? He missed child support court back in 1987. It's 2009. My story. So I'm challenging y'all today. I guarantee if you just talk a little bit, you'll see that all of us have gone through some things that we've had no business going through with this system. When that tape got out, let me show you how they covered themselves. When that tape got out, the attorney told me, I can't tell you, because she didn't know she was being recorded. I can't tell you to take this and do that with it. In essence, you do it. So Channel 9, Bay News 9, the Lakeland Legend, all of them were writing. We gave them a tape, and it got back to the sheriff. Now, all of a sudden, she's no longer a homicide detective. She's a patrolman. And from a patrolman, she's a bailiff now. How big is that? And when the attorney did the deposition of her, and he was asking why is she no longer a homicide detective, the state attorney kept objecting. That's not me. He said, my client wants to know. She just wants a change in job. Who would like to go? Let me see how many hands come up now. Who would like to go from making $75,000 or $80,000 a year to $40,000? How many of y'all would like to do that? In essence, that's what they say she did. She wanted a change. So you just become a patrolman? You're going to just give the money back and you have the abilities to do that? That don't sound right. And at this present, I think it's even less now, because she's went from homicide detective to a patrolman, and now a bailiff. Just a bailiff. That's big. If we stand still, God's going to fight for us, but he got some mouthpieces that he needs to use for us. And he's going to put those type of people in the proper places so they can speak up for us, because this shouldn't be happening. This definitely shouldn't be happening. I was in the meeting the other night with Mr. J.D. Johnson over there in Lake Hamilton. And what kind of got me with that? He was exploited because he was working on a tractor and the flag was in the trash can. And he took it out the trash can to put it down there so he won't have to lay in the oil. They said that the flag was on the ground. Well, he got it out the trash can. So now you got the wrong person there. When you done took him and going to demote him because he had no respect for the flag, I think you got the wrong person. The person that should have gotten the problem was the one that put it in the trash can. Wouldn't y'all agree? Okay, but I'm going to show you how that works. If I'm reading it right, JD, they demoted you, right? You were as a supervisor, you were making $21 an hour. They demoted you. You still making $21 an hour. How does that happen? What kind of sense does that make? They're taking responsibilities from you, giving you less details, but paying you the same amount of money. Boy, you better watch out. You better watch out. That's why we getting some people that's going to speak up, because what they did totally wasn't right. What they did totally wasn't right. Preacher right there sitting there, they did some of the same thing to him in Lake Hamilton. Fired him and didn't follow protocol. Let's just play by the rules. Isn't that what I said the other night? Let's just play by the rules. You made the rules. We're complying with the rules. Now you want to change the rules because we are learning how to deal with the rules. Let's be smart with what we do, y'all. And together, there is so much power in numbers. Y'all hear what I'm saying? There's so much power in numbers. If we can all just coagulate together. I got a Facebook page, and they were showing I want to say it was a bunch of little ants, and the bird was getting ready to come down, and one ant signaled to the other one, and all them ants came together. And when that bird got down there, they tore his butt up. Y'all hear what I'm saying? We can do that if we stick together. We can do that. We are going to do that. We're going to do that. That's what it's going to take. Mr. Mickens and I go way back, way back, way back when Trey was in middle school, wasn't it? You was his principal, and they kind of shoved you into a situation that kind of made everything go sour, did it not? Yeah. I said that to say, if we stick together and we get our strategic plan together, when it's time for them to have a war with us, we're ready to fight. We got to get the right mouthpieces in place. We got to get the right number of people in place. And we've got to be motivated to stand up, because if we don't, kids and grandkids will be fighting the same battle again. Now, what sense does it make to keep running around the same Chinaberry tree? The same tree. You ain't accomplishing nothing. Let's run around this tree and find another tree to run around. That's how life goes. How many of you desire for your kids to go through just the same thing you went through? I don't think nobody does. And because we don't desire to do that, let's do what it's going to take so that they don't have to do that. And if they see us doing it in the right way, they're going to follow lead. We don't need no guns. Never owned one in my life. Don't want to own one. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Ain't thinking about owning one. Don't need to fight physically, but we're going to fight mentally. We're going to put these minds together, because the book says, I didn't write it, but I read it, but the book says, where there are 2 or 3 touching and agreeing. Just 2 or 3. We got to touch and we got to agree. Now, can you imagine what it's going to be like once we get everybody touching and agreeing? And then everybody else start to jumping on, because a lot of us ain't going to jump on till the train start to roll, and y'all know that, right? Okay. Pastor Kyle, again, thank you so much. I love you, baby. That was okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you see, we got stories from everywhere. Miss Reynolds, real quick, she's just going to tell us, how long has your grandson been in the Polk County jail?
My name is Doris Reynolds. I live in Waverly, and I have a grandson. They came to my house one night, arrested him, locked him up. When he went to trial, when he first started the trial, they said he was incompetent to stand trial. It took them 4 years to finally decide that he was incompetent. And they just did that last month when he went to court. Now they're trying to send him off. I say to you all, I reached out to Pastor. I heard him on the radio about a year ago. And I heard some lady talking to him, and I said, that sounds like me. So I called him, and he invited me over to a meeting. And I've been keeping in contact with him ever since. We cannot fight this battle by ourselves. I hired a lawyer because I thought the public defender wasn't doing his job. I paid the lawyer every dime he said he charged me. That lawyer is not worth the ground I walk on, because the ground I walk on does hold me up. But the lawyer don't do anything but go to court, go along with what the public defender say, what the prosecutor say, and tell me it's gonna be all right. I know it's gonna be all right because I trust in the man above. But I didn't pay him to give me that assurance. I paid him to defend my grandson. And he's not doing that. Every time he go to court, I have been right there. And look like me, he just sit there and whatever they say, it's okay with him. But I have paid him all the money that I have, so I don't have any more money to pay another attorney. But I said to my grandson last month, and I say, fire him. because he's not any good, and we'll go back to a public defender. And my grandson say to me, he say, "No, Granny, don't fire him." So I need him to file some motion for me. He said, "Because I've been reading the Bible and I've been reading upon my case." And he said, "I know I'm going home." He said, "Just keep him, and I'm gonna use him to file some motions." But he has been sitting there 4 years. He haven't been charged. I mean, they haven't charged him with anything because they say he's incompetent to stand trial. But yet and still, they keep him there. So Pastor was saying earlier, he need me to sign some papers or whatever. As I stand this evening, I sign whatever you want me to need. If you want to put it on the radio, the TV, or whatever. I have nothing to lose. So I sign whatever you need so it could go abroad. Somebody somewhere might could help me because I need the help. I can't do it by myself. So before I leave here today, if you want me to sign an authorization for you to put it on news or radio, I'm retired, so they can't take my job because I don't have one. Like I say, I have nothing to lose. And if going abroad or whatever could make the law officer. Now he said when he was arrested, he signed a statement that he did it. But when he called me that couple of days later, because I told him when he left, I said, "Don't sign nothing, just request a lawyer, and that's all you got to say." But he called me, he said, "Granny, I had to sign that paper." He said, "Because they were beating me." And said, "I told him, I'm going to tell them you beat me." He said, "They told him, you could tell all you want because nobody would believe you." Since he been incarcerated, he was in the hospital for staph infection. All y'all know what that is. I have pictures. Pastor Powell Howard. One of the officers slammed him on the floor and his head was swollen with a cut up there. And when I went to see him, his head was swollen. He had a big bandage up there and his eye was black. I took my cell phone down there and I took a picture. So if I'm guilty of something, I'm guilty because I did take a picture because I know if I tell anybody that, they wouldn't believe it. So I wanted them to be able to see it. I filed a complaint and went to the sheriff department and requested a video of that because they say everything on camera. They gave me a video of them putting him in a cell. But what I wanted to copy of, they didn't give it to me. But I do have that picture where his eye was black and his head was swollen with that bandage up there. Later on, when I filed a complaint, that officer was dismissed, but the damage was still done. And today they still hold him right there in Frostproof. He haven't been nowhere else, but right there in Frostproof for the last 4 years.
4 years in the county jail. And we filed a complaint with them. And once we filed a complaint, now this was before this gentleman, the same officer that her grandson had complained about, before we found out knew anything, we filed a complaint. Later they found out that he's the one that was doing drugs with his girlfriend and all those things. They ended up firing him, but wouldn't have him to take responsibility for what was done to her son. I have four more people just going to talk briefly, and then we've got an action that we're planning in Lake Hamilton. We're going to bring, and I actually was able to get some of the documentation to your case, and I found out that there was a conversation in the email between two of the workers, one was mayor, that says, "I think it's a good idea." Now this was before any of this happened, with this flag situation, to put JD in the field and bring Walter in the plant. I'm gonna give you those emails today, so you'll see that this was something that was already planned months ago. So I'll give you those, and you can take a look at them, and you'll be able to have those. But it's important that everybody here. So now, I want Jarvis to come because you won't believe what happened to him. And then is it Calloway? Right before Jarvis comes, something happened to her, and as real briefly, tell us what happened, and then we'll have Jarvis. So come real quick, and just really went through something.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. Hi, I met Mr. Mickens when this happened to me. I lived in the projects. It was back in '97, and my son was out with some of his friends, and one of them had a boom box, and they was playing the music. So the patrol cop, I guess what they call them, asked them to turn it down. My son said they turned it down, but I think my son came in my apartment, and some of the other ones started talking, giving police some mouth, which they shouldn't have. But anyhow, my son came in my house, so he decided to arrest the guys and what they call it, trespass. So he was trespassing. So he said he came to my door, knocked on my door, say, "I'm coming to arrest your son for trespassing." I said, "Well, he's here with me. He's invited to my home. Well, can I come in? He's going to be arrested." I said, "Do you have a warrant?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you can't come in my house." And that's how I know when the gentleman say, when you make somebody mad, you pay a price. I had no idea he was so angry until the next day. I'm coming home from work. He pulled me over. I had my son in the car. I pulled into my driveway, ran in the house to get something, and then I was going to my sister. As soon as I got back on the highway, he pulled behind me, came to the passenger side to arrest my son. I said, he's not on the property. We going. So he decided to pull the door open and snatch my son out of the car. And I said, I'm trying to plead with him. And I'm holding my son. I said, "Well, you're going to have to go on anyhow. And I let him go, but he pepper sprayed. I'm still in my seatbelt. He pepper sprayed. He was mad with me then. So I'm the one got the charges. My son got a trespass. I got battery on a cop. I got resisting with violence. And I've never been a person that's violent. I didn't touch him because I'm in my car, in my seatbelt. He on the passenger side, but I hit him. And it went for years. The police sending people to my apartment, threatening me to take a plea. I was afraid. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of people threatening me. Cops coming by telling me I have to take a plea. I did. I said I refuse. I go to jail, get out, and still deny that I hit this man. I'm not gonna say I hit someone and I didn't. I went through, I say, hell and high waters. It went on for about 5 or 6 years. I finally went to court, and the jury found me not guilty of the two felonies, the two felonies that I was on trial for. So they came back and they said, well, we're going to add a resisting without violence. And that's what the judge gave me after I was cleared from the charges that I was on trial for. And that's what happened. And through that, I lost my job. Right now, if I go to a nursing home or something, when they pull that up, it's still on my record, and it's still affecting me. So, like the young man said, we have to pull together and stop some of this injustice to our people. And because we don't have money, we don't have, no way of fighting them. They give us this public defender. This public defender tries to make us plead to, charges that is unjust. And I was afraid, but I didn't plead. I went to court. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
So you see, this is serious. It affects different type of people all across the board. Jarvis. And we're going to we do have refreshments afterward, good refreshments, and we're going to plan our action in Lake Hamilton. Then we have a big, large action here on October the 25th, where we should have at least 1,000 right on Avenue T.
Good afternoon, everybody. First off, I'd just like to say I thank God for Pastor Coward and the p.m.j.a. I really appreciate their assistance in my matter, and I thank you all for taking interest and taking out of your busy schedule to be here on today. Sometimes it can become tiresome, and we can allow it to consume us sometimes as well. And being able to come back from these detrimental issues and being able to focus and continue with our lives, it becomes something that is a day-to-day struggle and a day-to-day challenge. So I just want to thank those who are fighting with us. A little bit about my story. I usually, whenever I'm going to speak, I try not to think about what I'm going to say, because I want it to be from my heart, and I want it to be with passion, and with zeal, and just zealful, to present to you. And most of you know, but it was on December the 19th of 2010, I believe it was 2011. I don't even remember now. I try to get it out my mind. But whatever the date was, I was arrested for conspiracy to commit sexual battery and sexual battery by a person of authority on a minor. This young man who was supposed to have been, he was 21, 22 at the time that this claim had came about. We got into a confrontation just by me meeting him at a store. And when I met him at the store, I recognized him because an acquaintance from years back, I knew him, and they introduced me to him, and I made mention of his I don't want to look at that. He made mention of this young man, and the young man, we had something that stuck out to me. Our name is very similar, almost to a T, our entire name. So I always remembered whenever I saw that individual, because my name is Jarvis Young, and I can about count on my hands how many Jarvises I've met in my lifetime. You don't find them too often. So he kind of stuck out to me. And the young lady who he was with, which now was his girlfriend, I coached her and trained her in track and field, and I was speaking to her. And I tend to look young, and most people sometimes they'll think that I'm younger than what I am. And I noticed he had an attitude when I was talking to her, and I say, hey, make sure you let your boyfriend know I was your coach. I ain't trying to talk to you. And she told me, no, he's mad because we just got into an argument on the way here. And I said, okay. I said, well, make sure you introduce me. But by the time he came over, I recognized his face. And I said, hey, I think I know you. And everything was calm and collect until I mentioned the individual, the acquaintance name of how I met them. And the whole conversation went sour, and he began to become voice combative with me and began to say some things. And I was trying to understand what he was saying, what he was talking about. Make a long story short, I do believe that this young man was sexually abused. I believe he was sexually abused by the individual. But where I have the issue is that when he made his report, this was when Sheriff Grady Judd had started doing all these sex things and stuff and everything, and that was coming out. So I guess he had he built up enough courage, and I commend him for that, to speak about it. But I don't know if it was two guys or if it was just one. I don't know. I wasn't there, had no part of it. I don't know. But the issue is this young man utilized me for just a moment. Now listen to me. He utilized me for just a moment to build that courage to speak out. But then he recanted with them and pulled me out of the whole situation. We have tapes and records of it where they utilized this young man to call me on a tape recorded phone conversation. And he was trying to tell me of a situation that never happened. And I'm telling him, I don't know you. How I met him, how I remember him, and so on and so on. And he started trying to tell me about the situation of him being penetrated or tag teamed by two guys, and was saying that I was one of the guys over the phone. No, you got the wrong person. And it got so to the point where I started cursing at the end, telling them, you got the wrong person, this, that, and the other. That was the end of the conversation. Well, the next few days later, make a long story short, I was arrested. They had been to my house serving a warrant to arrest me. I found word of it by my neighbors calling me. I called them. I told them I would come talk to them. Went in to go talk to them, and they questioned me. This was recorded as well. The detectives and the officers that was in the recording said, we know you didn't do anything. We already know. I mean, it's just so much. Even they admitting it on tape recording, and oh yeah, we know. We had him make the phone call, and we had him say this and this and that. And come to find out, even to go further than that, like they say, when you get in trouble, you start learning a lot. So I was arrested. I was released. I wasn't even supposed to have a bond, but God made fit that there was a ram every time in the bush. And I never got a public defender, or I was searching for one, but I was praying, and God said, just wait. That's the only thing I got. The only word, wait. And I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was like, Lord, I got to go to court, and I ain't got no public defender. I ain't got nothing. And just said, wait. And so I said, well, when people ask me what you're doing, I said, I'm waiting. And the more I said it, the more I felt strengthened. Make a long story short, I end up going, and the state started doing continuances. And after the continuance, they finally dropped the case. And after they dropped the case, I picked the case up because I want to know what's going on. And they had put me on television, as you can see the pictures and stuff. At this time in my life, I was the vice president of Florida African American Student Association, going up actually for running for the state president position. And I was the face of my college, Hillsborough Community College. I was the student ambassador, where I would go all over and speak on behalf of the college. When President Obama came down, I was actually the face, the greeter, and so on. I met him 3 different times on 3 different accounts. I've been all over the world speaking on behalf of the college, the Senate, Tallahassee, sitting with Congress and senators, and so on and so forth. Never been in trouble. And it all came tumbling down in one night. Found out that this same man, this young man, never even wrote a victim statement. There was no victim statement. It never's been. And then they wouldn't even send the tapes, the tapes and stuff. They wouldn't send it over to the state attorney's office. The state attorney was saying, hey, give us some so we can prosecute them. You said this and you said that. They wouldn't do it. That's why the continuance is up. They fraudulently built a police affidavit to even get a warrant. And the attorney, I'm not telling you something I know, but I'm telling you what I have in black and white. And the attorney, the assistant state attorney, he signed off because he was buddy with the detective, and they had nicknames and stuff. This is all in their affidavits and stuff and everything. So we gather some information how they were collaborating together to push this thing through. Later on, we end up, after everything was over and done, and we once the p.m.j.a. with their assistants started pushing through and trying to get some things, because I wanted the tape. A lot of people backed me off of my word. Character goes a long way. People believed in me because they knew me. They knew what I stood in. And what happened was, I was telling people, I said, I didn't do this. This is a lie. It's all a lie. And people stood for me, and they stood with me, and Pastor Coward stood with me, and he put his own money forth and said, you know what, we're going to get those tapes. We fought for 2 years. It was almost 2 years we fought to get the tapes to prove what I had said and what they said, and what they said that I said was a lie. We got those tapes, and we started playing them on the radios and stuff and everything, and people started hearing it, and they're like, whoa. You know, now the eyes are open. This is what I've been telling you, and it felt so good. It felt liberating to be able to not have to say nothing, but just say, listen. But then it wasn't over then, because by me being on television and stuff, I still have to deal with it. I cut hair, and just about a few weeks ago, a young man, I gave him a card, and I told him, I said, hey, you can, tell your uncles or whoever, whatever, probably about 16, 17-year-old boy. I said, let them know, whoever you get me, some clients or whatever, every person you get me, I'll give you a free haircut. This is the only person I had given my card to or phone number to in a while. I'm just starting to building up that courage to kind of, try to get my life back together. As soon as I did, I got slapped in the face. I got a phone call, and some guy threatening me, telling me if I don't, it sounded just like if he was reading from the script from when I was arrested. You know, you're riding around and you trying to some mess. I don't even remember, but was talking all this mumbo jumbo or whatever, and it made me so mad, and it hurt me, and it opened that old wound right back up again. And it makes me want to just, back up into a corner and just want to leave it alone. Stop mentoring. Stop trying to help people. It seems like every time when I feel like I'm ready to stand back up and take my life back in control, it's brought back to the forefront. So the damage is already done the moment that we are arrested. Even when the state does not pick up the charges, even when it's over and done with, when it's dropped and everything was dropped and they said it was that. But if you go and you do a Google search on me, I'm going to come up. This situation, well, they actually snatched this stuff down after the p.m.j.a. got involved and we started trying to get stuff. You can't find it. We tried to find these tapes and stuff because we started complaining and started going to them and saying, we're not taking this. I don't know. These people got some power. They got some authority where they can go snatch stuff down overnight. It was there one day and gone the next. And I'm kind of glad but then mad at the same time. But we had already played it on the radio and had already, the radio station had a copy of it. So they was able to pull back up the copy that we had. But as soon as we played it on the radio, they snatched that thing down off of the internet so fast. And so these people have power. They got power to tell Lakeland Ledger, hey, don't you publish that. They have to go and get whatever they're going to do, edit it through them before they'll do it, and playing tit for tat to make sure that it suits them and suits the bill for them. We have attorneys and stuff that won't take the case just because they're buddies with Grady Judd. And Grady Judd, I think that he started this thing out trying to do good, but I think it started getting the wrong people, and so the wrong people say, "Hey, buddy, we need to have a talk with you." And so he hungers for fame. He likes the attention of the cameras and stuff and everything. And so because of that, he gave a charge. I'm telling you how I feel. Like, anybody listen to this or whatever, this is how I feel. I can't talk for nobody else, but I'm passionate about this. This is how I feel because I've watched this thing play out in my own life. And it's something when it becomes personal to you. And so what happened is he started giving charges that letting things go, and we end up getting emails where they said against me they had nothing whatsoever. They couldn't do anything, but they said even if we stretch it to fit, we can't find anything or do anything, but they still went ahead and did what they wanted to do. So the damage is done in my life. I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. But the thing is that I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else after me. So if anybody has a fight, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you all the way, because I just need, and if I could have anything, my thing would be to have an attorney that would actually look at my case and say, I'm not afraid. I'll stand with you and I'll take it. We'll take the fight to Polk County, because guess what? This case is so solid and it's so laid out. It's right there. It's right there. The work has been done. All you got to do, we just need somebody in the position to take the fight to them, because we don't have those credentials and that authority. Thank you.
The funny thing about Jarvis' case, once we got information that the officers had been talking with each other and said they didn't have anything against him, I went and according to Statute 119, requested the records, and they opened an investigation on him just so that I couldn't get the records. So immediately when we made the request, they opened an investigation. They ended up having to close it when the media got in, and they ended up giving us the information. So we have it on CDs, we have it on a transcript. So and Jarvis was very passionate about getting it. We have. I want you to tell us what's happening, because we're gonna be over to his brother JD, Minister Wormley, and we will be over in Lake Hamilton in big numbers. And then I want, on the other side, we have Kizzy here, who's fighting to find out who killed her husband. You know, it's a different thing if you're black. It's treated differently. It's just another black man. Let's go on. She's been waiting for some answers. Those answers haven't given us. Then we're going to close out with Shalana. She got it, and they got plenty of food for us. And I'm going to get your names and information so that I can tell you about our next major action that we're planning on. We'll talk about it overeating, but our next major action, and we're bringing everyone to Lake Hamilton in a big way. Everybody in a big way, and want to make sure that it's known, and we're going to get us some media attention. And we'll be talking about this on the radio for the next 3 weeks on Thursdays. We're going to just take your story and push it all away. And I'm personally going over to Lake Hamilton with some ministers to talk first. And then after that, you can expect for some folk to be out there making some noise and bringing this to the public's eye. We've had several cases like this. You remember we had a 70-year-old lady who was arrested, pastor's wife. They arrested her in the church yard. You all know that. After we began to protest and make noise about it, dropped all the charges. So we're getting ready to make some. It's the light that the devil don't like. When you put the light on him, he makes things different. All right, Brother J.D. Brother Wormley. Brother Wormley is going to come. All right. This is Minister Wormley. I've been knowing him a long time.
Thank you, Apostle Coward. I'm going to be real brief, but we've got a situation that's going on over in Lake Hamilton where the mayor herself has a racial tension. She's racially biased. And Mr. J.D. was my supervisor. I used to work, let me tell you my part, then I tell you his part. He was my supervisor, and on the termination she put that your supervisor says that you're not working up to the town standards, you're not doing what the town say do. So she put him on the line. So she terminated me in my probationary period so that I couldn't appeal my probation, appeal her termination. So I was like, okay, no problem. But then I went home, I told my wife, well, I'm terminated. I'm not going to fight. I'm going to let it go. It's okay. But then she came and said, if you don't fight it, who will fight it? It'll keep going on. It'll be on and on in a cycle, because what had happened was when I first got to the town of Lake Hamilton, I'm from Lake Hamilton, but I never go to the meetings, never would go to the meeting. Then I went to the meeting and they had done try to terminate Brother Johnson and try to get rid of him on a whole lot of technicality. One letter say he wasn't able to run the water plant, he's not qualified, that he's not able to learn. And that was because she was trying. You heard Apostle Coward talk about a guy named Walter. They wanted to keep him in a position as a worker, but never give him a position as a supervisor. In the town of Lake Hamilton, we don't have many people, but they have 2 blacks that actually work for the town of African American actually work for the town of Lake Hamilton. That was me and him. And it was so strange. At the same time, he was suspended and I was terminated. He's suspended and I'm terminated. That means I couldn't question him in my process of being terminated. Did you write and say that I wasn't doing my job? But what happened was when you stand grounds and go against the mayor got a spirit of retaliation. You cannot stand against her. So in JD's case, not just with the flag, it dates back to when he was beginning, they built a new plant out there and they was going to let him run it, but a guy named Walter was coming along. They say, well, if we get a job to Walter, we can keep JD just as a regular worker. So they begin to pick on JD because he wasn't going to take it. He wasn't going to take it. He began to learn. He already was a water treatment plant operator in Dundee for so many years. So they began to bring other people on board to take JD's spot. So when I got hired, one of the guys told me we had a water break. His name was Phil. When I got hired, Phil and another guy, they begin to tell me, I say, y'all, we got to fix the water break. No, JD coming, JD coming. I say, well, he the boss. He sent us out to the water break. No, JD ain't the boss. The mayor said, as soon as she get rid of JD, she's going to get Phil the spot. Catch this, Phil is a white guy. And Harvey, the other guy, was there. They saying this. Then Harvey began to say the Northeast section, and she never replies. He can write up everybody there is. He write up Phil for not doing what he say do, write up Phil for sleeping. He told her that Phil is not doing his job, Harvey is not doing his job, and everything he done wrote up, he got it in paper. She would say, hey, investigation to be done, it's nothing to it. But she would go tell him to write me up, and he say, no, I'm not gonna write Ernest up. I say, Jay, you got to do what she say do, she's your boss. So he will have to write me up because of what she tell him to do. And when she get mine, it's a whole different shade of blue. Then he writes me up and she acts on it. And I was like, Mayor, I did not do that. You're going off hearsay. To keep on to tell you that after that, the flag situation, JD didn't do nothing wrong with the flag. The people that took the flag down should have left the flag at the town hall. What are you taking a flag down and bringing it to a maintenance shed for anyway? It was something behind it. If we take it over there and leave it, we can blame it on JD. So everything that happened with the flag should have started at the beginning. Whoever took the flag down, whoever folded the flag, and who took the flag over to the department, guess what? All of those, if you're going to suspend anybody, everybody should have been suspended, from the person that took it down until JD. But remember, another clue, those that took it down was white. Not that I'm racially biased. Like I told him, I came here, I wasn't looking for a job. Y'all gave me a job. But if you want me to stand on what's right and what's wrong, if you bring a person of African American into the picture, guess what? No matter what we have to say, they always was against what we had to say. They brought some inmates in, and they say JD left the inmates by themselves. They wrote JD up. I told them they brought inmates in. They was working with me, but the mayor took the inmates from me and gave them to another guy named Phil. He brought the inmates in. He's way up on one end, north end of Lake Hamilton. They're on the south end of Lake Hamilton with no supervision. When he told her that, she said, no, 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 that's just hearsay. You know why it was hearsay? Because I said he left them. Now, when other inmates say inmates say JD left them, guess what? She wrote JD up. They began to investigate JD and try to fire JD. But the council reinstated JD back to his position. But it's sad, as Mr. Holmes would say, that you would demote a man and keep his pay. Demote him to keep his pay. To slap him in the face, say the next person we bring over you is going to be one of the guys probably that been working for you. Sad. It's a sad situation because the simple fact, it's not about one person anymore. It's not about JD. It's not about Ernest. It's about our whole community, how it's going to be set up. Have y'all seen, some of y'all got Facebook, how the church that was up in South Carolina, how the noise violence got the preacher sent to jail? Lake Hamilton has got an ordinance passed now that if it's too loud down there, guess what? You better not be loud outside that door. They can come in and shut you down. So what we have to do, and what I'm asking, and I'm so glad Pastor Kyle, he got all the emails, so he got more in depth than what we got, because I wasn't going to fight. I was going to go back to the school and just go to work. Like I told her, soon as I got fired, you said I was terminated. I called the school, and that man said, they've been looking for you to sub on a permanent basis. I was going to go back to the school, but how can I go back to the school knowing that justice is not being served? After walking with Martin Lee, y'all remember the first case that Attorney Parks and Crump has was with the Martin Lee Anderson case at the boot camp. Then actually going up there working with Dale with the George Zimmerman case, helping them out. I can go all around the world and help them, but it actually happened in my own back door. It's time for us to stand up, quit watching the news and want to support everybody else, and let's start supporting what's going on in our community. When it's wrong, let's stand up. It's in your backyard now. When they had the shootings and stuff, we was all like, yeah, but when the guys got shot out there by 80-something times by the police, where were we then? It's time for us to stand up, people. Don't close your eyes. Stand up. You got to fight the good fight. If you don't fight, you'll never know if you can win. And I dropped by to tell Pastor Coward and your organization, if you need me for anything, I'm ready to fight. I'm tired of us being done any kind of way, because justice needs to be served.
Amen. We will be there. This is our last. We're going to have her last, and then Kizzy, you'll come after this. And we're going to enjoy some good eating. I need the dates on the town hall meeting, the next town meeting. I need some names and information. We'll get that. I will give you the emails that we have. Lewis will start printing those out, and then we'll be out of here. All right. We got some good food prepared for you in the back. I mean, a whole spread back there. All right. All right, Shalonda. All right. Now she's a fighter. She's a fighter.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, my case started about 2 years ago. We were, I was home in the evening, and my oldest son, my middle boy came in and said, "Mom, would you take us to the movies?" His friends started coming over. So they were all in the neighborhood just hanging out like they normally do. We was close knit, so parents would look out for the kids. We looked out for the kids. They played basketball in front of the house, all of that. Well, the Haines City Police Department decided they want to come in the neighborhood because they got some old cases and they want to pin on somebody. They come in the neighborhood, had my son in handcuffs. He let him out. My oldest son came and got me. So I go to the scene. The police is out there, said my son was on a suspicious bike. I said, what made it suspicious? Because he got plenty of them in the backyard. He said, because it was spray painted. I said, that's what he do since he was this young. So what that means? Well, they had another young man that was out there, had some little mental problems. They took him, put him in the back seat of the car about a bicycle that was abandoned on the side of the road. Took this, when they came in the neighborhood and arrested him, he stood in the crowd of the kids and said, I want two. I don't care which two, give me two. At that time, I asked, what did my son do? He said nothing. But I want him to come and give a statement saying this young man did not steal the bicycles. That's fine. Give a few minutes. We go, me, my husband, other two, the other young man parents, they go too. We get to the police department. We out there for hours. We asked to go back while our kids are being questioned. They told us no. We still out there for some more hours. We gets up and asks the lady, hey, when can we go back with our kids? They're minors. I'll have someone to come out. Went on 4 hours. We get the detectives come out, the sergeant come out and say all of these boys are going to jail. They burglarized homes in another neighborhood. So I want to know what? I can't tell you. So you're arresting my son, but you can't tell me. No, I can't tell you. I said, well, I want to see my son. You can't see him. He goes on and on about it. I said, listen, I'm not going till I see my son and make sure he's where I left when we get here the same way. Well, he tell me I can't see him. So eventually we wouldn't leave, not me. We wouldn't leave. He let us go back. But it had to be in the presence of the detective and the sergeant. My son wasn't in the room. So I asked to see my son. What I'm back here for? I want to see my son. Would not. He told me if I didn't get up, he was going to arrest me and take me to jail. I told him to do it. I'm going. I want to know what my son done. My son was an honor student. He got up every day and went to school. I didn't have to wake him up one day. I raised 3 adult kids and none of them got a criminal record. I was mad. All of this going on, taping in the lobby. The sergeant got a paper. Ooh, they said they getting a lawyer. Oh, he was acting bad. Ooh, they gonna get a lawyer. They said they getting a lawyer. Get your lawyer. We asked them. They said they burglarized some homes. We had no answers, none. They told us to go home and they'll call us for our kids. Well, the next morning, I get up. I ain't waiting for nobody. I get up and ask why haven't nobody called me. I get a call stating my son been charged with 6 felonies. My son and 2 other boys, 6 felonies. All the answers I got was, they don't know. They can't tell me. I did my own tech work. I got those reports. I found the addresses, and I went and spoke with the victims. I ran into the first victim I ran into. This lady had gave the police all the leads, all of them. Just gave them leads. They didn't act on it. Before we left this lady's house and I could get home, the sergeant called me and said, I heard that you've been speaking with some of the victims. And I said, yes. Well, you know we can get you on tampering with the witness if you do it again. I ain't stopped. So we go through court. We get there, and the kids are arraigned. They're arraigned for 6 felonies. One of the boys was only arraigned for 4 felonies. 6 felonies, facing 60 years. $5,000 per charge to defend my son. I didn't go for no public defender. I sold things out of my house, did what I had to do to come up with that money. We get to court, you know you can't touch your kids when you go to first appearance and all of that. We get to court. Instead of the public defender knowing that these boys couldn't have did, they say these boys stole 13 to $15,000 worth of merchandise. No car, broad daylight, and they did it all in 1 hour. They took it to the Haines City High School and sold it real fast. I'm asking them, so what, the kids having a rummage sale in the school? That's what they do? Never went and spoke with the school, but I did. My son spent 12 days in the county and lost 11 pounds. He was losing a pound a day. I made a fuss. We couldn't get no reports. We couldn't get nothing. We went through 3 state attorneys because they didn't want to mess with the case. They said that they had fingerprints, tape confessions. Oh, they in another case. That's what they said. It got accidentally put, the fingerprints, in another case. They prolonged it. The tape confession, my son didn't do one. They couldn't find it, but he had done one. Kept on. I came to one of the meetings, the p.m.j.a. was talking to pastor because I wasn't getting anywhere. Me and the parents, I got on the side of the road in front of the police department and protested. I got out there, me and some more parents, and protested. You finna tell me what my son done. When it was all said and done, we looking at the reports, they got different addresses. So the kids, this little boy got a different address, my son had a different address. They were supposed to have burglarized. Then they changed it. They was on bicycles, toting 73-inch TVs and put it out through the bathroom window. The little boy was about 75 pounds. He was 13 years old in middle school. That's the one picked it up, put it through the bathroom window, towed it around the house where my son was on another street watching out. That's what they done. And I told the sergeant, look at my face, that's mine. I'm going to bat for mine. I don't care about nobody else's, but I'm going to bat for mine. That's my baby. I know what my children do because I got handcuffs on them. I don't play the radio. I know they do. I know his character. He had never been arrested, never been in trouble, none of that. I didn't stop at the police station. I went into the mail. I went to the meetings. At the meetings, I found another young lady went through the same, almost similar thing. I went to the meetings. When I got to the meeting one night, the sergeant in there, no, it was the chief, I think it was, he was in the meeting. Well, come to find out, we were sitting in the office. He gave an example of the case. So we say, no, hold on. My son ain't done that. No, we giving you an example of what happened out there in that same neighborhood. Well, it was all said and done, and I read it. That's the same case they picked on these boys that you said they had nothing to do with. You were giving an example. So they later put that on these boys. I get to a meeting, and I made that statement. I said, you better watch him, because he'll charge you with a crime and pin it on you, and it ain't the right, and you ain't done nothing. He didn't deny it. He ain't said it didn't happen or nothing. And I looked at him. You could have stopped these boys for going to trial, and we spending all of this money. You could have threw this miss out because you knew that it was wrong. And you ain't got, and it ain't the last. You done heard from me. Well, after we get the PM, they won't give out no information, with nothing done. The investigation is going. Okay, they said they had so many days. The investigation was supposed to be over with. They still ain't have an answer. I called Pastor Cowell. I went to the meeting. I got in touch with Pastor Cowell. He said, let me handle it. I mean, just like that, they come back and put in the newspaper they've been suspended. One got 36 hours without pay. The other one got 24 hours. But my son did 12 days and lost 11 pounds and got behind in school. That's what happened. We sold all our stuff out the house to feed my son. But they just get 36 to 24 hours. But I wouldn't have got that without Pastor Cowell. He got the arrest reports of the officers. Some of them, they had missing evidence out of the evidence room. They had stole a man's knife and later found it in his car. All kind of little crooked mess. So when these boys get to court and we get ready to go in, our lawyers go in and say, we ready, to tell the judge we ready. The officers immediately get up out their seat, go get their guns and put it back in their holster and leave. Because we had a whole neighborhood full of kids. We didn't have to subpoena to get there. Adults and kids of everybody that was out there. And when they seen that, they got up and walked. What I'm saying, as I told my son, because they still targeting, they came to a place we were living and said somebody did a 911 call and it came from here. Guns drawn, knocked on the door. My son begged me to stop doing what I'm doing. The devil is a lie. I wouldn't care if they came in with machine guns. You got to kill me when it come to mine. So just recently, Haines City again, I helped another young lady. She was found not guilty. About 2 weeks ago, she was found not guilty with battery on the police officer. So what I'm saying, like I tell we are real close. So I tell my children, always have some kind of device that they can. I gave my son a phone because we have a pending lawsuit. Put it on record, baby. Anytime they act like they want to bother you or walk up, put it on record. So what I'm saying, kids and parents, know your kids, know your children, have your kids to speak with you because they're targeting our youth in a mighty way. And if they were so easy to pin $15,000, 15, not five, not $15, $15,000 worth of merchandise on these three boys, which one of them at the time was in middle school. He wasn't home at 3:30, but they just pinned it. They have to have no reason to do it. They slapped it on these boys and it was it. But this is my thing. The NAACP gets in the newspaper and states that they were satisfied with the pastor was in the meeting. They were satisfied with what happened to the officers. And I was looking and we was like, the p.m.j.a, my son ain't named the NAACP. If anybody should have been reached out to, should have been us and the parents. Because the NAACP, I called them, I done called, and they did not help. But you got in the newspaper to say that that was punishment enough. So I'm with all y'all. I'm with everybody. If you need me to come, I'm there. I don't work. So I'm there. I'm helping Melissa. I called her. I reached out to her, and I just found her number on the p.m.j.a. I reached out to her for her to come. That's what I've been doing since this been happening to my son. Because if it happened to a child, well, officers could come in your neighborhood. He wasn't down the road burglarizing nothing. He wasn't no trespasser. He was out in his neighborhood with his friends on a Friday evening doing absolutely nothing but being kids. And they came and said they want 2, but they sorry. They got 3. They got me. Thank you.
Amen. We are looking forward to this, and Shalonda, she's no joke. She went down to the police department with a few up with signs, and all of them shook up. Yeah. And some of the officers that they should have done something with earlier, they've now been arrested. I mean, been terminated over the force, and so it comes to show you that it happens. One more, then we're going to eat. Then I want to, if we can come back, I want to show a little bit of footage of something. It won't take long at all. I want to get you, get us something to eat. Kizzy, come. And this is on the other side of the spectrum. We really want to help her, put some pressure on law enforcement because they're doing absolutely nothing to tell who killed her husband. Absolutely nothing.
Good afternoon, everybody. Um, my husband was killed last year in November. It's been 10 months, actually. They tried to write it off as a hit and run, but like a few weeks after his funeral, you know, the street started talking about a few guys. I won't mention their names because nothing has been done to them. They have been questioned, but nothing. A few months ago, we received an autopsy, which was absurd. I talked to Mr. Claude about it. He had called me because he couldn't believe it. He actually held my husband's remains. It's just ridiculous. I can't get no help from Winter Haven PD, Polk County Sheriff, period. I even tried to go to the Sheriff Department. They don't want to hear it. When I went down there a few months ago, well, about 2 months ago, actually, that was the last time I went down there, and I just been doing the other stuff on my own. And I asked for the leading officer investigating, and he came out and he was like, well, you know, there's nothing we can really do about it. You got the autopsy report, right? Which I was kind of felt like he was going to say that because when I got the autopsy report, I was like, wow. Should I tell him what the autopsy report said cause of death, Pastor? The autopsy report, cause of death, they actually said it was drug intoxication, which he was alive when paramedics got on the scene. He actually died with them. Yes, he had drugs in his system, but we all know that was not the cause of death. He had bodily injury from his waist down. The officers said they went and questioned a few of the guys who they had heard knew more about it, people that even got arrested and came in and said they knew more about the case. But when they knew when the Haven PD didn't have none, they backed up conversation. It's crazy because when I was going to talk to the investigators like every day for months straight, aggravating them, he was pulling my leg with they're waiting on a subpoena from Walmart to get a list of all the trucks that was coming in and out that night around Lucerne Park Road. And I'm like, you can't be serious. Ain't no semi hit him. Because he would have been, no, ain't no semi hit him. So stop it. And, you know, he was telling me he went and gave some guys his card who he heard had something to do with it, and they threw it back at him. Now, we all know, and this is not a racist thing, if my husband was white in this particular neighborhood, got hit, and all these group of people calling the Crime Stopper line, going to Winter Haven PD saying that, oh, we heard da-da-da-da-da did it, and they black, they not finna go hand them no card. They finna throw you in that car, they finna bring you to the segregation room. They might not even let you go. They gonna hold you till they find something. None of that. And it's like they just, you know, we're gonna write this off. Another black man from the hood in this part of town, dead, whatever. You know, I don't really have the money to push it like I want to, but I'm gonna stand on what God said. But I do need help, and I'm thankful for p.m.j.a, my pastor. But the police department and sheriff department here, they is not what's up. That's all.
Well, we're working, and Mr. Rayner, I just spoke with him, and he said to me that he's willing to help with any of the cases that we have. So we're going to start, he left some cards, we're going to start making some connections. But let's go, before you fall asleep real good, let's go and get something to eat, and then we'll close out with prayer. And Pastor McKenzie suggested something which we already had in mind. We want to have 1,000 signs made on our next rally. Now we have a big rally. This is on October the 25th, and then a larger one on the Friday of November during the convention, that Friday. And what we're going to do that Friday, we're going to split up into 2 groups because everybody be here from all of the churches, all of the states. We're going to try to drop about 1,000 or so in Polk County Sheriff Department and another 1,000 at the courthouse on the same day, Friday, and everybody be there to talk about certain cases, and then we're going to have some demands that we're going to put in before.
Let me say this. Fannie Lou Hamer said, there comes a time when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's where we need to be. I just thought of something as you were talking. We have cell phones. Do you know that we need to start networking with each other? We need to start having almost like a hotline to each other where we communicate with each other. If you're having an issue, you should be able to get on your phone and say, sisters, I need some help. And we need to just start congregating wherever we are. Pastor Coward said it, the thing the enemy does not like is light. When you bring light, we know what happens in old wooden houses some of us grew up in when the roaches scatter when you turn the light on. That's what darkness does. It flees when you put light on it. So I just thought we need to start maybe a cell phone network throughout this county and all over the country. We need to start saying when a situation happens, a policeman stops you, you can get on that phone and say, look, sis, such and such, such. And I know that's a part of the philosophy behind the p.m.j.a. is that we show up on the scene. We need to start showing up.
Speaking of that, that's what happened with Willie just a few weeks ago. I think we had at least about 100 came out there. Anywhere from 75 to 100 just showed up while they were out there. Come on, Willie, real quick. Yes, Kizzy, you was going to say something. Come, Willie. Kizzy. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yes. And really what get a lot of them upset too is we have people within the law enforcement that are giving us certain information of where to go and where to look for certain things. So we'll be working on this. What you just mentioned, Pastor, is what happened to Willie. Willie, real quick, we're going to eat, but after you said that, I thought he would tell us what happened.
How everybody doing? Well, my story started out as trying to get my wife registered for school. And make a long story short, we were on the other side of Winter Haven, and my kids, you know, being a parent, the first thing you want to do is take care of your kids. So it was real hot one day. I had just got off work, and they told me they were thirsty. So I ended up coming way back over on this side of town, and I had to make a stop somewhere, which in the police eyes is a drug related area. So I ended up making a stop there before I went to the store to get my kids something to drink. And it was I think it was an undercover cop, or it might have been a detective, or you know, he was passing me as I made the stop in this particular area. And the way Inwood is set up, when you come out from the church here, it's a stop sign here. The police was waiting at that stop sign before I came out of the area that I was in. So I came down, if you familiar with the area, I came down this area of 37th Street. And it's a store on the corner here, and it was 2 cops there waiting on me. After I left here, I made a right turn as though I was going to Mother's. And it's a store in between here and Mother's. When I got to that stop sign, it was traffic already, you know, coming. So they tried to pin a running a stop sign charge on me. And the way they set it up, instead of him directly pulling me from behind, he was behind another vehicle as though he was hiding. So we have a place over here called the drive-through, and I made it there to get my kids their drink. So he immediately got out the car and he was like, give me your license. And when I looked at him, he was already aggressive. So I'm the type of person, if you're aggressive with me, I'm gonna automatically defend myself. And I asked him, I say, well, why, why did you pull me? He never told me why he pulled me. He got back in his car. I asked the guy that owns the store, could I move? Because the way the drive-through is set up, that's the way they do their business. People, cars come in and out. So I ended up moving, and he got behind me again. This time, he came to the window with a taser. And he was like, if you don't get out of your car, I'm going to taser you in front of your kids. And my oldest son, he was asking the cop, what did my dad do? What did he do wrong? And in this society, I don't want that to be the first thing my son thinks about is, a cop and, what did he do to get in trouble or something like that. And I know it was God because I pulled my phone out and I was trying to call Pastor Coward. And he came to the car again. This particular time when I pulled my phone out, he had left. So I tried to hurry up and call Pastor to let him know what was going on. Just so happened I sent the text off. And normally I know Pastor, he'll get a text before your phone call. And he was like, if you don't get out the car, I'm gonna taser you in front of your kids. And I say, I don't want to do anything to my pastor's present. And he was like, who's your pastor? As soon as I said Pastor Coward, he immediately opened it. He snatched the car door open. And he grabbed my wrist because I had my hand on the steering wheel. He grabbed this wrist and the phone was still in my hand. And when he pulled me out of the car, he immediately slammed me to the ground. And instead of them following procedure, he didn't call for regular backup. He called for narcotics. So immediately I was thinking in my head, okay, he thinking that it's drugs involved. So instead of him putting his, you know how the normal procedure, they put their knee on the back of on your back, he put his knee on my head. And it was a young lady out there. She kept asking him, what did he do wrong? He's not being violent, so why are you being violent with him? Okay, they tried to pin, well, I'm still fighting it now, resisting arrest without violence. Okay, if there's no violence involved, then why I'm bleeding and why you bleeding? And make a long story short, when Pastor finally arrived, they already had me in the back of the police car. And I was trying to, well, what they did when they had me in the police car, my wife's brother had to take my kids out of the car because they was trying to search the car. And the normal procedure, what they do is they supposed to drop you off to this bookend, whatever they call it, and they supposed to go out and follow pursuit again. Well, the officer that took me to bookend did the paperwork and everything. He left and then came back. And he was questioning me and he kept asking me, see, my wife know normally I'm a fighter. And it take a lot to, to break me down, basically. It takes a lot. But this particular thing, it really broke me down because I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about my kids and my family. And he came back and he asked me, he say, am I gonna try to push the issue? And when I looked at him, he was like, just remember, you're gonna have to sue me and my sergeant. And I say, man, you really don't know what you just did. And he was like, what do you mean? So some kind of way, I think they have this little call thing where you can finally call out. They would never let me call Pastor. They would never. I actually got through on your phone one time. And when I said my name, I heard Pastor say hello and the phone shut off. They didn't want me to let him know what was really going on in there. And Pastor, I know I haven't had my hands in a lot lately, but this here, I'm gonna fight. Because what they did to my family, they just opened up a whole another way of thinking. And instead of me fighting the way I normally fight, I'm gonna fight them on paper. I'm gonna fight them on paper.
That's the way to do it. Let's all stand. You was gonna say something? All right. Oh yeah, we're in. Let's go out and get us some good. They got some good food. I only got one desire. Please let me beat y'all to the bank. All right.